Hi, I'm Zen and welcome to this video on the absolute basics in Excel. Due to trying to keep this video underneath 30 minutes, this video is actually going to be really simple stuff in case you're not sure. So this is going to cover what a spreadsheet is and what it isn't, how to do basic maths within a cell itself. So literally, how would you use Excel as a calculator, and then how to actually calculate sums in Excel. As always, there will be exercises in my videos, so please make sure you have Excel or another spreadsheet application that you want to use, as you'll find that the majority of stuff that we're going to be doing will work on all other spreadsheet applications. So without further ado, let's run the intro reel and learn how to do it. So let's first just understand what Excel truly is. And that is, it's a spreadsheet program. But what does that mean? Well, it is an electronic version of what used to be called a ledger. And that's what we can see on the screen here, just a screenshot or photo of a ledger. It is essentially somewhere to store a bunch of related data, such as the number of hours an employee works along with the amount they'll get paid for it, or the sales from a store or from an office. Excel and other spreadsheet apps often call their files books, and each spreadsheet is, well, called a sheet. So spreadsheets are just electronic versions of ledgers. The job is to hold related data in a meaningful way. Since they're electronic though, they can help us out a bit. Mainly, it can do the maths for us if we tell it exactly what we want it to do. And that is the important bit. Like a ledger, the spreadsheet is split up into columns, and then we can see we're using letters here to denote each column. And we have rows in which we use numbers. That becomes important later on when we look at cell referencing, that we need to use the column and row numbers to identify. So what is an Excel? Well, apart from the others, like it's not a birthday cake, spreadsheets are not a good place to hold a lot of data that needs to be rearranged or presented in different ways. You can manipulate the data with spreadsheets, absolutely, but it does have its limit. If you're looking at having to turn that data around inside out, left, right, and center, and pluck bits out from different areas and put them with other pieces of data, then you are looking at a more fully fledged database, which incidentally, in my videos, we will be doing a whole thing on MySQL databases, so do hang on for those. Before we dive into maths, let us just quickly look at the interface. At the top of Excel, we have the standard tabs and what is now known as the Microsoft ribbon, which will change based on what tab is selected. However, to be honest, 95% of people who are watching this video will probably end up staying on the home tab anyway, and that's absolutely fine. Then we have this little box hiding over here, and it's called the name box, or at least that's what I'm going to call it, the name box. There you go, name box. And that will, for 90% of the time, tell you what cell you're on. But it does have a cool use, which we'll see in the next video when we look at cell referencing. We'll skip over this little section here, which is the insert function box. To be fair, most people who know how to use this are advanced users. For most people who are new to Excel, I would just leave this alone for the moment. And then we move over to the formula bar, which, fun enough, is where we're going to write the majority of our formulas. And then, as you can see, the major section of the page is taken up with the actual spreadsheet itself. I've actually got it zoomed in, and like you can do on most Microsoft apps, if you press the control button and use your mouse wheel, you can zoom in and out of your spreadsheet. The spreadsheet itself is made up of a bunch of sections that we call cells. Each cell has a reference, which is made up by the column name first and then the row number. So this particular cell would be referenced as C4, as we can see in the name box there. One of the things you often get asked is, well, how wide and how deep is the spreadsheet? In other words, how big does it really get? And the truth is, the spreadsheet will expand to as large as 99.99% of people will need it to. So as you keep scrolling to the right, it'll keep adding columns, and if you keep going down, it'll keep adding rows. But yes, it does have a limit. What is that limit? Well, as you can see here, it is XFD, and what is that? 1,048,576 rows. Okay, and that is a rather large address. For those of you who are wondering how I got there, you press the control button and you can use the arrow keys to move you to the extremes of the page. If for some strange reason you need even more space than that, or more likely you want to be able to get hold of the data a lot easier rather than scrolling across hundreds and thousands of rows, then there is a solution, and that is to add more sheets to our book. If we look down here, we can see that this is sheet 1, and next to it there's a plus button which will allow us to add additional sheets. And if we right click on the sheet name, we can see we get some options here, such as insert an additional sheet, delete this one, rename it, move or make a copy, which can be quite handy when you want to share stuff, to view the code behind it, protect the sheet, which stops people overwriting it by mistake, and a few other bits and pieces as well. As like most of my videos, throughout this one, there will be some simple tasks for you to do and follow along with to make sure that you understand everything that's going on. Because if you just watch the video, I'm really grateful, but you won't always learn unless you're actually doing it as well. So whilst you're here with me, why not open up Excel? Let's rename this sheet to video. So we're going to right click, go to rename, and we're going to call it video, and then just press enter. Then to create another sheet, all we're going to do again, so we're going to scroll down, move our mouse down. We're going to click on the plus button to create a new sheet. And then we're going to right click on it and we're going to rename it, and we're going to call this exercises. And again, press enter. As I said earlier, one of the great things about spreadsheets is their ability to do the calculations for us. We can literally just use it like a calculator and find the answer of, well, fun enough, a calculation. So if I click into a cell, and let's choose F8, so let's go back into my video tab, and then let me zoom in. Again, let's control mouse wheel, and let me choose F8. Here we are. And then I'm going to click into the formula bar, and I'm just going to add equals 3 plus 8, and press enter. And we can see the correct value is 11. Now we can see the answer there, 11, but when I click into it, we can see in the formula bar up here, it has still got the actual calculation. Maths wise, Excel can actually do quite a lot. I won't even try to cover them all here because this video is only going to be, about 20 minutes long, and it will take that long just to do one section of the maths, and that would be doing it poorly. So just understand that if you've got the time and you want to do the research yourself, you will find there is a lot of maths that Excel can do for us. What we're going to look at here is just a lot of the basic ones to get you guys started. Now we've already done addition, so let us do the next natural one, which is subtraction, and it is just the same method. Now it's very important that we do use the equal signs when we're actually doing a formula or calculation, because if we don't, it will cause some problems, and Excel can act a bit weird. But to be able to show you this, we need to prove the weirdness has been done by Excel and not just me. So to do this, we're going to have a look in the cell F9, but first we're going to press escape to come out of the calculation for F8, and now I can left click into F9, right click and select format cells. In this pop-up menu, we can see that the cell is set to general. Don't worry about this for now. I will come back to cell formatting in more detail a bit later on. Okay, but that's in general, so we're going to close that. We're going to go back into the cell itself. So we know F9 is in general format mode, and now what we're going to do is type in 10 minus 8, which we would expect to get the value 2, but when we press enter, I get the 10th of August. And in the formula bar, we can actually see the full date there of the 10th of August, 2022. Now, if we right click on the cell and go to format cells, we can see that we are now in custom format, which is not what we originally had. And again, this is where it goes a bit weird, because even if we move it back to general and say OK, we end up getting 44,783. And this is what's called a serial date number. Apparently in Excel, day 1 in Excel, it's actually the 1st of January 1900. So according to this, it's been 44,783 days since the 10th of August 2022. Don't ask me why, ask Excel. However, now we are back into the general format. If we go back into here and do the equals 10 minus 8, we should now get the correct value, which is 2. If we want to do multiplication, it's basically the same trick, but this time we use an asterisk to represent the multiplication, not the letter X. So again, here in cell F10, we're going to do the equal sign, and we're going to do, let's see, 8 times 5, and press enter, and there we have it. Likewise, when we want to do division, we use what is called the forward slash to represent the divide. So since we're in F11, we shall do 24 forward slash 4 for 24 divided by 4, but let's not forget that equal sign. I was going to turn it into a date, press enter, and we see we get the expected value 6. In case you're wondering, yes, Excel will do that BODMAS or BIMDAS or whatever you are calling it now. And we will see this in cell F12, where we are going to do equals, open brackets, 3 plus 4, close brackets, times 2, let's do plus 6, and let's divide that by 2. So this is a nice little back to school math. See if you can work out what this value is before I press enter. And my guess is that it should be 7, 14 plus 6 divided by 2, which is 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 14 plus 3 should give us 17. And there you have it. However, as you may have noticed, I've actually done these in my exercise tab and not in my video tab. Okay, and this is a common problem. So although I wasn't really going to show you this before, since I've made a boo-boo, let's fix that. And so we're actually just going to do a standard copy and paste. So we are going to click in cell F8. I'm going to press the shift button and left click in cell F12. I'm going to right click. I'm going to cut it. You notice we get this sort of animated cut thing around it. And then we're going to go into the videos tab where I should have been originally. I'm going to click in F8. I'm going to right click and I'm going to paste it in there. Notice it takes up the same space, and also notice between our two cells, our two sheets rather, we actually have different zoom. So I will try and match it. We can look down here. We can actually see the zoom values as well. So in video, I'm at zoom 370 or 370, and in exercises, I'm actually in 280. So I'm just going to move this up to 370-ish as well. There you go. In fact, you can click there and we can do a custom of 370. So there you go. A little bit of free stuff there, just how to, whoops, don't want it. That was a bit loud. So let's just change it to 370 and press OK. There we go. So now it's time for you to try and do a task on your own. And again, this is just going to be the simple math stuff. We're going to do this in the exercise tab, which is where you should be doing it. And we're going to start off in cell E10. Since the calculations I'm going to ask you to do are going to be really straightforward, what I'm going to do is to literally type in the answers within a couple of seconds of giving you the instructions. If you want to try it yourself, maybe it's going to take you a bit longer to work it out, don't forget to pause the video. So what I want you to do in cell 10 is to add the values 18 and 12 together. So the solution to that is to press the equal signs, and we're going to type in just 18 plus 12 like we would do normally and press enter. Now in cell E11, I want you to calculate 32 minus 4. So again, we're going to click into the formula bar. We're going to do the equal, and then we're just going to do 32, again, minus 4, and press enter. In cell E12, we're going to calculate 12 times 5. So again, it is the equals 12, the asterisk, and the value 12, and the value 5, and press enter. The next cell, which is E13, we want to find out what 99 divided by 3 is. So it's equals 99/3, enter. And of course, we have to do a BODMAS version. So what we want to do here is first we want to add 8 plus 2 together. We then want to multiply that by the value 3, and then multiply that value by the result of 4 divided by 8. And finally, we want to add 20 and take away 4. So do this in BODMAS. So we're going to do equals, open brackets, 8 plus 2, close brackets, asterisk 3, asterisk, open bracket, 4 divided by 8, which is a forward slash, close bracket, plus 20 and minus 4. And we get the answer of 31. So this is great and all, but it's just the same as a calculator. We can obviously click into our cells that we've got here so we can see the calculation. But if we don't do that, we just see these numbers and we've got no context to it. Luckily, we can add text to our spreadsheet. So let's try that. So the first thing we're going to do is to click into our videos tab. I'd always recommend that you press the escape button first to make sure that you haven't got a cell selected, because otherwise we're going to get into some cell referencing which may not be what you meant to do. Let's click into our video tab. And what I'm going to do now is to click onto cell F6 and add the word Jan to represent January. And now I'm going to click into the cell F4 and put in sales, put in brackets, it's in hundreds. And what we're going to do now in D8 is we're going to put in some names. So let's start off with the first person being called John. Next person we're going to call Jess. Then we have Mo, Richard, and Claire. We're also going to add 2 additional things here. We're going to add underneath Claire, we're going to put in total, and we're also going to add the average as well underneath there. Okay, so now you see just by adding a little bit of text, we do get quite a lot more context to the values that we've got on our sheet. And this leads us nicely into the idea of doing cell referencing. Okay, so what we want to do here is to, well, calculate the total. And there are many different ways we can do this. So we're going to do a couple of the bad ways first, just so you know, if you have one of those days where your brain won't work and you just want to go for the most basic way, this way will be the best way for you. And then we'll show you the more advanced and easy ways to do it. So as before, we're going to press the equal sign and we're going to look at the first one, which is John's value, which is in F8, and we can just type that into the formula bar. So F8, and you can see it highlights in blue. Then we're going to press the plus button and we can do F9, and we're going to repeat the process for the other values. So F10, and again, plus F11, and once more, plus F12. And again, we can press enter. And now we have the value 76. So let's just do a slightly fast way. The first thing we're going to do, obviously, is to delete the value here in F14. So the way to get rid of it is to click on it and press the backspace or the delete key, and that should get rid of it for us. So now we've got rid of it, let's do a slightly better version. So again, with cell F14 selected, we're going to press equals. And now this time, instead of typing in F8, we're going to click on the cell F8 and then press the plus button, and then we can move down to F9 and again just repeat the process like we did before. As we can see, this is probably just a bit faster and gives us exactly the same answer, but there's still a much better way, and that is using the sum function. There are a couple of ways we can use the sum function. And the first one is very similar to what we've already done. So again, we're just going to go in here and we're going to delete the value and we're going to go back into it. And so when we're using the sum calculation, we've still got to use the equal sign and we type in the word sum. And as you can actually see, there is a help system come up here and we can use the arrow keys to move to it, or we can just type it as normal. Once you find the right calculation from here, you press the tab key for it to auto-complete what it can. And now this time what we do is that we click on cell F8 like we did before. And instead of pressing the plus button, because it knows it's the sum function, we use a comma and then we separate each value by a comma. Okay, so is it better? Well, that's down to you. And we use the closing bracket there to finish it as well. And once again, we press enter. And again, you can see we still get the value 76. But let's be honest, this has got no real advantage from the others. In fact, one could argue it's actually a bit longer. However, there is something called ranges in Excel, and this is what makes it a lot better. So once again, let's just click and press the delete button to get rid of the information. So now it's time to do the sum with range. Using the range feature is what makes this sum calculation extremely effective. Okay, so let's see how this works. Again, you can see I've already cleared out cell F14. We're going to press equals. We're going to start with SU, and then we can just going to use the down arrow to select sum. Remember, press tab, and now we're going to click in cell F8, and now we're going to put in a colon, which is the 2 dots, and don't forget that does require the shift button and the key to the right of the letter L on a UK QWERTY keyboard. And what you can see is we've got the F8, and it's put in another F8 for us. But if we now click on cell F12, you can see that will change there, and all 5 values are indeed highlighted. We do need to close this with a closing bracket and then press enter. And you can see we do get that value. Now, obviously, we've only got a small range of values here, but if it's like, say, even 15 values, and of course, in proper spreadsheets, this could be hundreds of rows or columns that this will work on. So it does become very useful. Okay, so what this basically does here, let me just click into it so we can get to the values. So what this calculation basically says is, this is a range. It starts on cell F8, and it will include all the cells up to and including cell F12. Now, it is important to note that you don't just have to use ranges. You can do a mixture of ranges, and you can put in commas and you can add another range, or actually just separate cells as well. So like if I add G8 here, you can see it goes red. Okay, now there's no value in G8, but if I click into there, put in say the value 200, we can see straight away that it is indeed working. Okay, and if you're wondering how to get the value back up, you just double click on the cell to see the calculation. So we can see here we've got the first range and another value. In fact, the other value can be another range, or say a massive combinations of it. We're just going to get rid of it for now because we don't really need it. Okay, it's just there for an example. But this is why ranges are very, very useful indeed. Now that was fast, but I've not finished yet. Oh no, there are much faster ways. Okay, we've actually got the AutoSum function. So to have a look at that, once again, we're going to delete. In fact, if you press the delete button, it will delete the whole thing for us. Now, when you have this open, okay, and you're on your home button, you will see up here, there is a AutoSum button. Now notice I'm in cell F14 again, so I'm going to click on the AutoSum button, and you can see it does the bounding box straight away, and it does the whole calculation for us. Now, if it was a row, it would also do the row for us. It just does a little bit of intelligent thinking for us. Now, as you can see, it's actually included up to the cell that we're going to put the answer in, and that may not be what we want. And in this case, it isn't. And there are several ways we can do to correct this. The easiest way is just to correct it in that calculation there and press enter. Also, when we've got it, if you look very closely here and here at the bottom, in fact, in all the corners, there are drag corners. As you see, as I move my mouse towards it, we can see it changes, and we can actually select all different values that we might want to use in it. And again, when we press enter, it's all good and works for us. Incidentally, if for some reason the AutoSum isn't there for you, if you go into the formulas ribbon, you'll find it's there as well. Now, I know you're a little bit peeved that I just didn't show you that at the start. Okay, but don't worry. Guess what? There's more to do as well. Because if you notice, when we put a mouse over it, we actually saw the shortcut for it as well, which is Alt and equals. So we're going to do that. Again, we're going to go into F14. We're going to delete it, and we're going to press the Alt and equals together. And you can see it repeats the same thing. And once again, just edit it slightly and perfect. Now, I know you're like, why didn't you show us that at the start, rather than showing us the 5 other much slower methods? And the answer to that is simple. The more ways that we show you to do the same thing, the greater chances you're going to remember a couple of them. See, if I just show you one method, in a week, 2 weeks, month, 6 months time, you might forget that method. If I'm showing you 4 or 5 different ways to do the same thing, maybe 1 or 2 of them will stick for you in the long term. And talking about making it stick for you in the long term, let's do an exercise so that you can improve that memory retention. So let's flick back over into the exercise tab, because that's where we should be doing it. So here we are in the exercise tab, and what I want you to do is to add some more values. So we've got these cells here covered. So it's from E10 to F15. So an extra value at the bottom here and some values along the bottom. And then using the two different methods, or two, whatever two methods you like, I want you to work out the totals to them. So for example, I'm going to put in the value 48 here, and let's do 856 here, 97, 125, 485, 369, 147. Okay, and so on this one here, I'm going to do the sum. Okay, so I'm going to do equal. So I'm going to type it. Okay, and now I'm going to click here, and I'm actually going to stretch it down, which is another method I didn't show you. Okay, so extra one there. Okay, I'll just do that again in case you didn't see it. So I've got sum. I'm going to click into the first one here. Remember, we've got those little bounding boxes. I know it's quite difficult to see on my screen. I'm dragging the corner and pulling it down to there. Closing it, press enter. And this one here, I'm going to do Alt and equals and press enter there. So I've got 230 and 2079. And that is the end of this video. I would say my job here is done, but I've got a lot to cover. So please, if you feel like I've earned it, please whack in a like and subscribe. Every single like helps me here. Every single subscription really helps boost my channel, especially since I'm getting back into the game. And you're going to see a whole bunch of these Excel videos coming out, starting, as I said, with really, really basic stuff, but I'm going to try and cover every section in proper detail so that you can understand everything. So thank you for watching. I'm Zen, signing out.